I'd like to welcome everyone to Steve Tees Off, our podcast here, which is sponsored by riversidegolf.ca. Ken Poirier and his fine crew down there make this podcast possible. I encourage anyone that's listening or watching to subscribe. And today we have a special guest, Krysta Schaus, who is the head golf coach at SFU. And not only is she the head golf coach at SFU, you're the second woman on the podcast.
All right. Love it. Thanks
There
for
we
having
go.
me.
Thank you so much for coming. I'd like for you to give us a brief introduction into who you are and what you do. And we can start by starting at the beginning and where you grew up and how you ended up with a golf club in your hand.
Sure. That's a good question. Whenever I'm talking to recruits, I usually start with that too. I'm like, who are you and how did you get into golf? Because I find golf is such a unique sport. Everyone has, a different background and a different way that they got involved in the game. That's usually where I start with recruits. And my story is I grew up in Fredericton, New Brunswick. Grew up playing multiple sports. Started off playing competitive baseball, actually. Played on a boys team.
Hardball.
Yeah. Hardball. Was a catcher.
Cool.
Loved it.
Uh-huh.
And then after a couple of years, it became pretty competitive. My mom was driving me all around New Brunswick every weekend. She's like, this is too much. You have to pick. Either you're going to play baseball in the summers or you're going to play hockey in the winters. You have to pick one or the other. And I'm a huge hockey fan, so there was no way that I was going to give up hockey. So chose hockey in the winters, and then next summer came around and I had nothing to do, right? I didn't have ball anymore. And we just happened to live down the street from the Fredericton Golf Club. So I asked my parents, hey, can I get involved in the junior program up there? And fell in love with the game and made that pretty competitive too. So
how old were you?
I was about 12 years old.
12 years old.
Yeah.
So you had the golf course was accessible to you. It was close.
It was
close by.
Yeah.
And did your parents golf?
I'd say my mom and my brother don't play at all. My dad was kind of weekend warrior, would play golf here and there when he could. But not really from a golfing family. It just happened that we moved close to the golf course, and that's how I got into it.
So bring us along that you start, there must have been there's a junior program there. There's always a pro at the golf course.
Yep.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
And they tend to gravitate towards, like, if somebody's showing some initiative, as good teachers always do, they're prepared to spend more time with people, with individuals that are prepared to learn.
Yeah.
So who was...
Honestly, I was very fortunate at the Fredericton Golf Club. There not only were like the pros on staff really welcoming to me and made sure that, I had other juniors to play with or other members to play with. But we also had a junior coordinator there, just an older retired man who took all of the juniors under his wing. He would play his golf early in the morning before the grounds crew even went out there and cut the greens. So I learned a lot from him. He's really the one who kind of taught me the game, pushed me to get started in tournament play. Along with the women's section at the club too. They were fantastic.
So when did you play your first tournament?
Probably about 13 years old. There was a little 9-hole tournament at a little par 3 course. Mm-hmm. It was called the Rosebud Championship. And one of the female members at the club said, hey, you should really play in this and get to know, the rules of the game. And my mom signed me up for it and I won that day.
You won?
Yeah.
The first tournament.
Exactly. So then at that point, that's when it was like, okay,
I'm pretty good.
You know what you're doing. Yeah. It's time to get a coach, right?
Uh-huh.
At that time, it was Barry Gorley, one of the few female PGA of Canada members at the time. She was my first coach.
Okay. So you continue on. So you start, you're 12, 13 years old and you continue on. So I always ask this because I know from personal experience, playing tournament golf is a lot different than mucking around. Mm-hmm. It really is. And the sooner you get, it's like any sport, the sooner that you get into that atmosphere of where it really matters and everything, there's, you can't move the ball. You can't, you got to play by the rules. Most That's right.
Yep.
And people are watching. When was that when did I guess that light bulb or that moment where you went, you know what, I'm pretty good at this, or was it gradual?
I think it was a combination of a couple things. Like being from a smaller province, I was fortunate enough that, there were only 12 or 13 girls playing in our provincial championship every year. So, compared to a province like Ontario or BC, where there's a lot more girls playing in those championships, I was able to make Team New Brunswick. And from there, if you make Team New Brunswick, basically it's a team of the top 3 juniors in the province. You get to go represent your province at nationals.
Okay.
So that was a cool experience where...
What age are you at that?
That was from, 13 until through the end of my junior golf career, 17, 18. Yeah, exactly. Okay. And that's where I got exposure to just seeing Team Canada or Team BC or Team Ontario, these better, bigger teams from a distance. At the time, we weren't necessarily paired with those players. But especially when you're seeing Team Canada, right? They're there with their coaches. They're going over game plan. Brooke Henderson was emerging at that time, right? So like I got to watch players like that where it was like, okay, this is cool. I'm really interested in this. I want to take this more seriously. I think the other opportunity that I had is when I was about 13 or 14 years old, the first national championship that I played in was hosted at the Hampton Golf Club in Fredericton.
Nice.
So at that time, my goal was don't finish last. Like I was still new enough to the game that it was like, just don't finish last. And I didn't. But then that's when I really realized, like, I want to take this seriously. I don't want my goal to be don't finish last. Like, I want to make cuts. I want to make the provincial team. And I want to get to a point where my habits and the way that I'm treating this game is the same way that those Team Canada girls are.
Mm-hmm. So they were aspirational.
Yeah, exactly.
So that works out. You continue playing. Were you at any time when you were playing, and this is a question, were you identified by Team Canada, like on the golf end for women's golf?
Was I?
Yeah.
Definitely not.
Definitely
no.
not.
No. I think just, again, being from a smaller province, and especially at that time, like golf in New Brunswick is a 6-month season at best.
Yeah.
And the amount of like indoor winter facilities that were available then were basically non-existent. Mm-hmm. So for me, as I started looking at some collegiate opportunities, my goal there was like, I want to go to a school where I can play and continue to get better. I realized that I had some potential. I think based on playing a lot of ball and hockey, I could hit the ball a lot further than most girls. That was a strength of mine. But when it came to like accuracy and just improving my short game, I just wanted to go to a school where I could play year round and improve, because I knew I had that potential. I knew as a junior I wasn't close to that Team Canada level. But with hard work, I knew I could be successful at the collegiate level.
So explain the process then of collegiate golf, of how that course, how you're 17, 18 years old, you're in grade 12, right?
Yep.
You're going to high school, and explain how you ended up in North Carolina or South Carolina?
For undergrad, I was in South Carolina.
In South Carolina.
Yeah.
And so how did that process work?
Yeah, honestly, I didn't have a lot of guidance through the recruiting process as a junior. For most of my time in high school, I didn't even really consider it as an option. It just happened that one year I went to nationals and there were some collegiate coaches that were there, and I'm like, oh, wait, I can go somewhere and get an education and play golf year round. Like, this is great. So that's when I started reaching out to some schools. I actually ended up going to visit some schools with my parents.
Yes.
We basically went down to the Carolinas, had identified a couple schools that, again, for me, I wanted to go to a school where I knew I was going to play and compete. So I was looking for a team with a smaller roster size. But getting a good education was important to me too. So I I thought it was important to go physically view some campuses, get a feel for, what campus is like, meet some of the girls on the team, meet the coach. And after touring about 4 schools, that's when I chose Erskine College, which is a small Division II liberal arts school in Due West, South Carolina.
So now you're going to South Carolina.
Mm-hmm.
That would be kind of, because I do know the U.S. quite well because I've traveled extensively to pretty much every state. Going from the Maritimes to South Carolina, that would be a little bit of a
culture shock.
You said it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it was. Erskine College having 600 students, there were more kids than that in my high school.
Yeah.
It was a religiously affiliated school, which I grew up Catholic, but it was like we go to church on Sundays, that's about it. And then I walk into my first world history class and they say, we're going to have a quick quiz. This should be a review for everyone. I need you to list the 10 commandments in order. I had to go knock on my next door neighbor's door and say, hey, do you have an extra Bible? I don't have one here with me. Yeah.
I'm Catholic too.
Nice. Love it. Yeah. So
bad Catholic, but
that was an eye-opening experience for me. Yeah.
So
but that's why, when you go through the recruiting process, right, it's not just about going through the process and going to the school with the biggest name or chasing the biggest scholarship. You have to find the right fit, right? And again, like I say, at that time, I'm looking back on it, I'm happy I ended up at the school that I did. But I think if I would have had more resources to go through the recruiting process, I could have ended up at a different school where I'm not scratching my head saying, oh my gosh, I didn't know I was supposed to have my Bible here with me. Yeah.
So how many years were you there?
I was there for 4 years.
4 years. So you finished out your 4 years.
I did. Yeah.
You did. And you were playing collegiately Division II?
Yep.
And what was that experience like? What was the golf? Talk about the golf.
Yeah. It was awesome. It was everything I was looking for. Like I said, when I went through that recruiting process, I wanted to make sure that I was going to a school where I was going to get playing time. And I played in every single event in the 4 years that I was there. I'd say my first 2 years were development years. I spent a lot of time with our assistant coach, who was a great player, just improving my swing, getting to know my swing on a deeper, more technical level, working on my short game, spending tons of time on the golf course. And then that third year, things really clicked. And that's when I won my first collegiate tournament in the fall of my third year. And by the time I graduated, I had won 4 tournaments individually.
So you graduate. So you explain this. Okay, so you graduate. And did you ever I know you have an MBA too.
I do. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So where'd you get your MBA?
At Gardner-Webb University in North Carolina.
In North Carolina.
Yeah.
So did you go right after?
Right after.
Right after.
Mm-hmm.
So you got your MBA there, where you can only play 4 years.
Yeah.
So you obviously were still golfing when you were getting your MBA, right?
Yeah, I was the assistant coach while I was there too.
Okay.
So it was kind of a natural progression. Once I was going into my third year of school, that's when I was trying to figure out what's next. Mm-hmm. And college golf is unlike anything else, right? It's as a junior, that you're going to go play college golf, you're going to be a part of a team. But then when you're there actually experiencing it, I'm like, wait a second, my coach can come on the course with me, give me all this advice, help me read putts, help me make better course management decisions. That was really helpful for me as a player. And then I really fell in love with that to the point that I wanted to be able to give that back to other student athletes in the future.
So you never thought about turning pro?
I did not, no. At the time, the Symetra Tour came to what was our home course in Greenwood, South Carolina. So I volunteered to be a caddy for the week.
Okay.
And funny enough, I actually got to caddy for a woman from BC.
Who?
Jessica Wallace.
Jessica
her name.
Wallace.
Yeah. So I haven't connected with her while I've been back here, but I believe she went to Pepperdine, pretty big Division I school, turned pro, was, trying to make a living on the Symetra Tour. And just to see her, like the way that she was living her life, which is, she's living out of her car, basically.
Yeah.
Fortunately, at the time, the Symetra Tour helped out with some host housing to help with the expenses.
Yeah.
But unless you are like top 10 on the Symetra Tour, like Nelly Korda was going through that tour at the same time, like it was so obvious that she was going to be there for 1 year, blow everyone out of the water, and then get her tour card. Where a lot of other players, it was a grind. They're just trying to make the cut, get a paycheck, and the paychecks weren't that big. So for me, I have a lot of respect for players like Jessica who went and did that and who had that kind of, I have to do this or else I'm always going to have that
regret,
what if in my head.
Yeah.
But for me, I just realized that's not the life for me. I don't want that.
So you finish your MBA up, and what out of your we'll stick on your collegiate career and your MBA. What were the biggest when you were moving from junior golf to collegiate golf? There's even when you're playing junior golf, you're still going to school, okay?
Yeah.
But you're usually playing that in the summertime. When you're playing collegiate golf, anything collegiate, you're actually going to school, and the expectation is that you're going to go to class and you're going to do your homework and you're going to write your exams and you're going to get good marks and you're still going to be playing that sport.
That's right. Yeah.
Which makes it's a completely different dynamic than what. And I was not a collegiate athlete. I don't think I could have been. No, I couldn't have been. We were talking briefly about my daughter. She was, and it was a constant balance. I had when I had Justin on, and he talked about his day. Well, my day starts at 5 a.m. I have my breakfast, and then and he's fortunate enough that he got to live at home, but you weren't living at home. So explain that adjustment that you had to make, moving from, okay, and the other thing too about a post-secondary education is, and I'm not saying the people that are teaching, the professors don't care, but whether or not you show up, nobody's really taking attendance.
My school,
maybe they were because they made you
such small classes. Yeah, they knew who we were, right?
Yeah. So if you weren't there,
it was
get out.
I'll tell you, our team rule was, basically at school, if you miss more than 5 classes a semester, it was not an automatic fail.
Really?
So we missed all 5 classes a semester for golf purposes. So kind of the rule that my coach had was, if you're not feeling good, too bad, go to class, bring a bucket next to you if you have to, and make your teacher dismiss you, right? So that the missed class isn't on you. So yeah, there was a bit of a transition there where you have to, for sure, right? I think the big thing is in high school, you're used to a schedule where, say, you're at school at 8 a.m. and you're dismissed at 3 p.m. every day. You know that that's your schedule, Monday to Friday. You're in school 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. And then if you have your extracurricular activities in the evening, you do that then. Then when you get to university, all of a sudden your classes might be in the morning, your classes might be in the afternoon, and you don't have anyone there to help you structure your time. So it's totally on you to get those study blocks in place, make sure that you're eating breakfast in the morning before you go to your class, right? You got to make sure you're getting up early enough for that. And then when you're on that varsity team, you're usually working out 3 days a week. You have your team practices that you have to attend. Sometimes there's team meetings or study hall requirements. And the only person responsible for that schedule is you, right? mom and dad aren't there anymore to hold you accountable. It's yourself, and if you're fortunate enough to be on a good team and you have good teammates and good friends, they're going to hold you accountable too.
Mm-hmm. So explain tournament golf at the collegiate level again. And I've had it explained to me, but how many girls are on the team?
So at SFU, we have 9 girls on the team right now. Yeah. When it comes to traveling to events, only 5 get to go.
Okay. Mm-hmm. And how do you pick those 5?
So
is it revolving?
No, that would be just too fair, right? That would be like handing out a participation medal, and I'm far too competitive for that.
Okay, that was the right answer.
Yeah. So what we do, every program's different.
Okay.
But for our program, what we do is we have qualifying rounds, and at the end of those qualifying rounds, it's usually about 3 qualifiers for each event. You basically look at the leaderboard, and spots 1, 2, and 3 are automatically in based on score. So there's always a way to play your way into the lineup.
Yep.
And then spots 4 and 5 are coaches' picks, right? We're looking at who's showing up, who's on time, who's ready to go, who's putting their best effort in every single day, who's, maybe meeting with coaches for individual one-on-one meetings, talking about their individual practice schedule. Hey, I'm struggling in this area. How do I get better? And coaches were at qualifying rounds too, right? So we're observing. I'm sure you've had, maybe a round of golf where you're like, wow, I hit the ball amazing, but my score just didn't reflect that.
That happens all the time, Krysta.
Yeah, correct? Almost every single time. But yeah, so that's how we pick our team.
Okay.
But what's strange about that is whether you've previously been on a team, right? Like in my case, it was softball and hockey growing up. You're always working with your teammates. You're never working against your teammates, right? Mm-hmm. So when it comes to collegiate golf, it's very strange to be in this environment where, as a coaching staff, I'm asking my players, and we really preach this within our team, is like, we got to be there for each other. We have to be each other's biggest cheerleaders and motivators every single day and hold each other accountable to the high standards that we set for ourselves. But then I need you to go to qualifying and compete against each other for those spots.
It's a meritocracy, man. It's like you got to be good.
That's right.
You got to be at the top of your game.
Yeah.
And that is one of the reasons that I do this podcast, is because I love golf, because it is that. It really is. And you can pretend, but you'll be found out pretty quick.
Oh yeah.
If you can't play. If you don't have the game, you don't have the game. And it is, I've been playing since I was 8 years old. So I've there were times, like I've said this before, I was in my first tournament when I was 14 years old and realized that, tournament golf really wasn't for me. Just simply because, and you got to be where, like out in the Lower Mainland here, we're blessed in the fact that if you wanted to play golf, you can year round. It's a little too cold for me right now. It is.
Yeah, it's allowed to be too cold for you, but when you're on a varsity team, if it's raining, put on the rain gear. We're out there.
That's exactly it. But they're not doing that in Manitoba right now, nor are they.
No, definitely not.
Right. So you play at the collegiate level, and then you go on to get your MBA. Mm-hmm. And what's your what memories, what things stand out from your collegiate career? I know you said you won 4 times.
Yep.
But were there any, like, was your school, were there rivalries? Were there special tournaments that you got up for, that there was, because I know what the U.S. is like.
Yeah.
Right. They're quite competitive.
Definitely.
Like Texas Friday Night Football, like there's rivalries.
It's a big deal.
Yeah, it's a big deal. Yeah. So did you have any instances like that?
I'm fortunate enough that during my collegiate career, basically your coach has to put you in the lineup kind of 1 through 5, right? Your coach picks what spot you're going to play. Mm-hmm. By my 3rd and 4th year, I was playing the 1 or 2 spot pretty consistently. And because of that, the same thing would happen on other teams as well, where you just get to know some of the girls on other teams. So like, yes, there were rivalries there in the sense of like we were all competitive. We all wanted to beat each other and win. But at the same time, like golf is such a cool sport in the sense of like I've met so many great people
Yes.
that I never would have come in contact with otherwise, right? So some of my best memories on course are just getting to know some of the girls on the other teams. One girl ended up graduating, joined the golf industry, became an assistant pro at Quail Hollow Club in North Carolina, and we went and played that course together. Like, how cool is that,
Yeah,
right?
that's very cool.
But I think a lot of the off-course memories just come from, team trips, just being in the van together, being up super early, super late, and just like the inside jokes and things that would come through that. And the same is true now at SFU, right? Like I look forward to those. The little in-between times is where a lot of the memories come from.
So you made the distinction, and when you were playing collegiate golf, and you realized that the coaches got to go out and and coach. So the light bulb went on, and you said you made a conscious decision that you wanted to be a coach.
Yeah,
pretty much.
Actually, my first year, I started off as a pre-med student, and ended up spending all my afternoons in science labs. It was terrible. I wanted to be on a golf course. So I made the switch to my undergrad was in sport management. So while I was going through that, it just made sense. Like the next step was to explore the coaching route.
Okay. So you finish up your MBA, and let's start talking about your transition from playing. You played, you get your MBA, you're still playing, but you're not playing collegiate golf, and to coaching. How did you explain the path to SFU?
Yeah, so I think after I graduated from Erskine College, I was really fortunate that Gardner-Webb University was looking for what they call a grad assistant coach. So I connected with the head coach there. His name's T. Burton. He's been the head coach for both the men's and women's programs for over 20 years now. And they're a smaller Division I school, but I knew that opportunity would help me get my foot in the door for coaching. So funny enough, Gardner-Webb had a history of having a lot of Canadians on their golf team. So that's kind of how I got connected with the head coach. I knew some of the girls on the team. And really, T gave me this opportunity. It wasn't like, hey, come and get your MBA and like you get to do all the work that I don't want to do behind the scenes. Like he really let me come in and coach the teams. And even though I was only a year or two older than some of the girls and guys on the team, like they had this respect for me where they allowed me to go in and be a coach rather than kind of that idea of extending my playing career for 2 years and kind of being like a collegiate golfer for 6 years. It really was like I got to play my 4 years. And then while I was at Gardner-Webb, I really got that initial coaching experience that was super, super important, which was, focus on course management, coming up with a game plan, how to run practices. Golf is a very different game on the women's side versus the men's side and how they play golf courses. And that's really where I had the chance to learn those skills.
Okay, I'm going to hone in on that.
Yeah.
It's a different game for women and men. Explain that statement.
I think the reality...
Aside from the reality of it being that like the men can bomb the ball 350 yards off the tee now.
Yeah.
But aside from that...
Well, I think that's the first thing, right? Is just like distance. We can't argue with that. The men just hit it longer. But 2, it's just a mentality. The men will always step up on the tee and want to hit driver, whether it's the right play or not.
Okay, so you're I know what the insinuation is here.
Yeah. And the women's team's the complete opposite. When we're, if it's a par 5 and I'm like, hey, let's get the ball up there as far as we can, right? This is a scoring opportunity. A lot of times they're like, well, no, I just want to lay back. I want to put myself in position
and get comfortable
and play like the smart they want to take the smart game plan.
You're right.
The guys are like,
Bomb it.
I'll just hit it wherever it goes. I'll find it and play it from there. So it is a different game. It makes my job interesting in terms of just
Well, you've got both. That's right, because you have the men and the women's team. So you've got bombers that don't necessarily want to think about the repercussions of hitting the ball 325 yards off the tee, put out the wrong club in your hand that you're really terrible with, or putting the right club in your hand, right?
Exactly. Yeah. But we're getting there. We're making progress. I always say, like, practice round day, the Sunday is the most important day for us as a team with coaches out there, right? That's where we're learning the golf course. That's where we're coming up with the game plan. At the end of the day, like, I truly believe that as long as the player is confident in the decision that they're making, that's what's most important, right? There's many ways to play a golf course. We see that on the professional tours too. There's not one perfect swing. There's not one perfect game plan. But as long as the players are confident and committed to what they're doing, that's what's most important.
Mm-hmm. So you went directly to SFU?
Sorry, no, I did not.
You jumped. Okay,
I did not. So after my time at Gardner-Webb, I decided I wanted to move back to Canada. So I had spent 6 years in the U.S. I didn't know what was next, so I drove. My dad flew down to North Carolina. We packed up my little Jetta and drove back home to New Brunswick. I spent the summer working at the Fredericton Golf Club, just figuring out what was next. And I knew I wanted to work in the golf industry, but I realized it wasn't really possible to make a living doing that in New Brunswick or at home, right? Just because it's so seasonal.
Yeah.
So the advice that I had gotten was, look into working at a private club in either Vancouver or Toronto. So at the time, I didn't have any connections to Vancouver at all. My brother already lived in Toronto. So I had reached out to some private courses there, and I heard back from the Toronto Golf Club. Their longtime head pro, Doug Rankin, got back to me, flew me out there for an interview. I got to tour the property, and immediately I knew that was a really special place, and ended up spending the next 3.5 years there.
Okay, so 3.5 years, and you were teaching pro there, or what were you doing?
No, I was an assistant pro and then an associate pro. So I was spending time, putting on golf events for the members and their guests.
Okay.
But while I was there, I ended up teaching quite a lot of people. Even though my role was more on the golf operations side of things, like, it was pretty clear that my passion was for teaching. And I was quite busy with that as well.
So were you teaching adults, young juniors, or whoever?
Yeah, everyone. Yeah. A lot of the ladies, just from the ladies side of the membership. And then the longer that I was there, I think people started to realize, like, okay, like, this girl's got game. She knows what she's talking about. She has that experience as a collegiate player and coach. And then I started getting some of the better male players coming to me as well.
Cool. Cool. I'm going to make this comment. I've always, because I've had, my daughter played competitive ball, and I always, and in sports, I just fundamentally believe this, and we could get into an argument about it, but I always believe that a woman coach teaching women is always, in my mind, is always better than a male coach teaching women. And for whatever reason, I believe that. I do. Because men and women they're different. Like they're different the way they, and I'll attest to that. We, on, a little aside comment here, and telling, this will be released in a couple of weeks, but we went to watch boxing on Friday night. Okay. And there's 2 female bouts. And watching women box, I don't know if you've ever seen it.
I've not.
Man, they go at it. They go at it harder than the men do. I wouldn't want to get into the ring with a female boxer. Now, I just, because the men are different the way they box. And it's just that the women they're ferocious. They really are. And I believe that this has always been my thing. And now, having said that, I appreciate that you coach both the men and the women's team.
Yeah, I do.
Which would present it's
Yeah.
like how do you deal with that? That was an awkward segue into this discussion here, but how do you
Yeah, I mean, I think everyone has a different learning style or coaching style, right? So I'd say, like, in general, in the PGA of Canada, right? Like, I think it's more so if you're looking for an instructor, right? It's just about finding the person who can articulate in the way that you want them to, right? Like, some coaches are very, very technical. Some coaches are very, very feel-based.
Yeah.
And then there's some in between, right? So you just got to find the coach that has the style that fits how you intake information, right? But yeah, for my teams, right? Like I do get that from quite a lot of people. They're like, I don't know how you coach the men's team, right? Like, that must be so different. And I'm like, yeah, like, it is different than coaching the women's team. But like, I have so much fun coaching both teams, right? Like, I truly can't say like, oh, I have a better time when I'm coaching the women's team than the men's team. It's just a totally different experience, right? The women's team, they always want, if I'm providing a piece of information, they always want the explanation as to why, right? The men's team, it's a little more like, here's the piece of information, and because they have my trust, they're going to go do it, right? I love sports. I love talking about sports. I do that with the men's team all day long, right? Like, even like the hockey game this morning, Canada, USA. I know next time I see them, they're going to be talking to me about
they'll
that.
be disheartened because we lost.
Yeah, right? The women's team, they're going to be like, okay, let's get this conversation over with. Like, let's get to work. Let's talk golf. Yeah.
Okay, answered that. So let's talk about getting from Toronto to SFU, that process.
Yeah. So after 3.5 years at Toronto Golf Club, like I had been at Toronto Golf throughout COVID, which was a very interesting experience. Just to give you a little insight into Toronto Golf, it's the third oldest golf course in North America, which is pretty cool. There's some deep history at the club, but something that's very unique about that golf course is they don't have tee times, right? Yeah.
There's no tee times.
No tee times.
You just show up.
You just show up. And as a staff member, we accommodate.
How does that work?
Some days are really busy and challenging, and other days we're more quiet. But the reason for it, I think, is because, in the GTA, the general, Toronto area, traffic is pretty bad.
Yeah.
So rather than having members stressed out about missing their tee time, they don't have to worry about that. They just show up, we accommodate. But COVID put a wrench in that, obviously, with all the social distancing measures and just safety measures that we had to take. We had to implement tee times. Some members loved that. Some members hated that. But because it didn't exist prior, it was quite an intense process of just getting a system up and running that could hold tee times, and how do we communicate with the membership that's not used to this type thing. So
I couldn't imagine running a golf course without tee times.
Yeah, it was a good learning experience for me, I think.
Are there a lot of golf courses that do that, private clubs?
Not a lot, no.
Because I've never heard of that in my life.
Yeah, it's pretty unique.
Wow.
Yeah.
So let me just ask you this question as it comes to mind. What happens if 12 or 14 or 15 or 16 people show up they want to, how do you, what are you, police? Like, are you the police where you go, well, Mr. Wilson showed up at this time, and was there a process you had to check into the club?
Yeah,
or like, did you have guys running to the, like, fighting, like in the checkout line or something?
No, it wasn't too bad. Everyone was pretty civil, but it was, you'd check in with the starter or one of the pros on staff. And then essentially they'd say, okay, well, there's 4 groups ahead of you. So it's going to be, give or take almost an hour until you tee off. So feel free to go have lunch or hit the driving range, and we'll get you back here for your tee time.
Did anybody ever get upset?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, of course, right? But that's the golf industry. It's, it's people management. It's
yeah, because you're talking to, like, I play as a single. I don't have I very rarely will play with anybody that the reason I do that is because I talk a lot and I like to meet people. I do. And there's no other, you go for a 4.5 hour walk with somebody that you've never met and you never know who you're going to meet.
Exactly.
That's what's
It's
cool.
the best.
It is the best.
Yeah.
It totally is. And you never, I've been down at Loomis and played with a star collegiate golfer from Oregon, and it was just great, wonderful,
Yep.
And he was relying on stupid me for course management, but I didn't realize what a bomber he was. I can't hit the ball 320, can't hit it 300. I didn't think the water was in play for you there. And he would say to me, "Oh, my bad. That's my fault," kind of thing. Okay. So we were talking a little bit about how you ended up at SFU.
Yeah. So sorry. So after kind of those COVID years at Toronto Golf, I actually decided it was time for a change. I wanted to experience life outside of the golf industry. I went to school, right? I got my MBA. And I just felt like that was the right time. I don't think it's a secret in the golf industry, but when you're young and when you're just starting your career, you're typically accepting a paycheck that's not very much money, and you're working 6 days a week, and not necessarily 8-hour shifts, right? It's long days. And actually, I think it's something that's not talked about enough in the golf industry, is just like that's kind of the way it's always been, is like to gain that experience and gain that respect in the industry is like the expectation is just you work day and night, right? Until golf season's over. So for me, I loved my time at Toronto Golf. I love working in the golf industry. But I just said, you know what? I just want to see what 9 to 5 corporate life is like. Weekends off, holidays off. I know I'm off work at 5 p.m. every day. So actually, I joined the insurance world. I became an insurance broker for about 2 years, and then quickly realized, like, okay, this has been a helpful experience for me. I think it's important that I had that experience.
Where did you do that?
In Toronto.
In Toronto?
Yeah, in Toronto.
The Big Smoke. Yeah.
I was literally like getting dressed up, going to the typical office job, right? And it was interesting. Through that experience, I met a lot of people too, where it was clear that they were working that job for the paycheck and then living for weekends. Which I think a lot of people do live their life that way.
You're not
right?
wrong. You're not wrong.
But then I kind of had this moment where I'm like, I have this opportunity where I can work in an industry that I'm super passionate about, like something I really love. Like I can get up at 5 a.m. for my job in the golf industry, and I'm okay with that because I love what I do. So that's when I saw the posting for the assistant coach job at SFU. Like, I have to apply for this. This is my only opportunity to get back into NCAA coaching in Canada. So it was really, I just kind of threw my application in, didn't even know if I'd hear back. And I'm very grateful that it all worked out.
And you did.
I did.
And how long have you been at SFU?
For about 3 years.
3 years now.
Yeah.
So who was the head coach?
So Matt Steinbach was the head coach before. And we actually kind of bonded over that similar timeline that we had in our lives. It was like, we played golf at a high level, worked in the golf industry, had left the golf industry to kind of work in that corporate environment, gain that experience, and then both came back to the golf industry in a coaching role. And I think what's really unique about a coaching role is, I get to do the fun things that you probably imagine I get to do. Run practices, go to some really cool golf courses, come up with that game plan for the golf course that week. But a lot of the job is also, there's a ton of admin work behind the scenes, right? Budget management, recruiting for future seasons, having one-on-one player meetings, making sure these student athletes are having academic and athletic success.
You're a counselor too.
Yeah.
To a certain extent.
Right. Yeah, for sure.
Counselor.
I'm booking flights, booking hotels, right? We got to make sure all these things are in order.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's why Matt and I hit it off initially, where it was like, okay, we both understand how to coach and know that that's the fun part of the job, but we both also know how to run a business, essentially, which is what this is behind the scenes.
So, Matt left a year ago. How long ago?
2 years ago.
2 years ago.
Yeah.
Because we had him on a while ago.
Yeah.
And so when Matt left, was there a process that you had to go through to become the head coach, or were you anointed?
Yeah, honestly, he left pretty suddenly.
Okay.
I think I found out around the beginning of August that he was moving to Scotland to go back to school.
Mm-hmm.
And the students were coming back to school about 3 weeks later. So it was a surprise for myself. It was a surprise for the athletes. But based on that timing, it all worked out well, where it was, he expressed that he was confident in my abilities to take over the program. And coming from him, who's, he put so much time and effort into the program, right? He coached for 8 years at SFU, and this wasn't just a job for him. SFU has a special place in his heart.
It was a passion for him.
So for him to sit me down and say, I have full trust and confidence in you. You're the right person to take over this program, meant a lot to me.
Okay. So I want to we'll wrap things up here, but you spent a lot of time on golf courses, and this is where we start talking about, because on a golf course, there's a lot of things that happen. Mm-hmm. I'd say more so on public courses. And we always hear, well, and I don't know if it's just, but what's the funniest or craziest stuff that things that you've seen on the golf course where you're forced to sort of give your head a shake and go, I have a lot of them myself.
Yeah.
But I'm older than you too. And surprisingly enough, they don't involve alcohol. They just involve stupid things that you see. And there just seems to be a little bit more stupid now than there was before. But
yeah,
who am I to say? So I'm asking you the question.
I mean, I think I'm fortunate that like the environment that I work with, it's a high performance environment. So most of the courses that I'm on, or golfers that are around me, are collegiate players. Mm-hmm. So nothing too silly is happening, but you get the typical like ball stuck up in a tree, or coyote comes by and steals a golf ball. But I think one of the best experiences that I've had on a golf course is every year we have our conference championship in Idaho at Coeur d'Alene Resort Course.
It's a beautiful golf course.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah.
And they have a par 3 there. It's an island green.
Yeah.
So there's tradition within our conference that the winning team of our conference championship has to jump in the lake right by that 14th hole. Mm-hmm. So I'm sure you can imagine that mid-April that water's pretty cold. But last year both men's and women's teams won. So all together as a whole group, we got to do the cold plunge together.
In Idaho.
It was pretty memorable. Yeah.
Well, that's great.
So this year the men are going for the back-to-back cold plunge.
Uh-huh.
And the women's team, they're going for a 4-peat.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Very nice. So quick thoughts on, you've been in BC. How many years have you been in BC now for? 3 years?
Just about 3 years.
3 years. Mm-hmm. Quick thoughts on the current state of golf in British Columbia here.
Yeah.
And these are, and the local talent pool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, first off, I'm amazed at how, everyone in BC seems to play golf or love golf, right? It's you can't get a tee time in this province.
That's true.
You can barely get a range stall at a driving range. It is just, the game of golf is growing in BC, which is such a great place for the game to be in. Mm-hmm. But I think along with that, right, as someone coming from the East Coast, I'm amazed at the fact that, and you alluded to it earlier, like golf really is a year-round sport here, right? So what I'm seeing in a lot of junior golfers, there's a ton of talent in this province, right? Both male and female junior players. But players are early specializing in golf from such a young age that when it comes time to talk to coaches or join a college team, they don't know how to be an athlete first or how to be a teammate, which is really interesting. So yeah, my advice to juniors would be, yes, golf is important, right? Like there's so many facilities, indoor and outdoor here, access to so many great coaches in this province. But when you're really young, play other sports, right? You can play soccer year round here too. You can play hockey. It doesn't matter what sport it is, but become an athlete first, and long term, that's going to make you an even better golfer.
Well, that's it. I'm glad you hit on that, because it's in having children, having kids go through the system. It's real. What you try and do is you try and expose young people to as many things as you possibly can. And this is what I say. This is my philosophy on life, is that you expose them to as much as you possibly can, and then you find something, and you're really passionate about it, and then you've won the lottery if you can earn your living doing it.
Mm-hmm, exactly.
You really have.
100%.
So it doesn't seem like work.
Mm-hmm.
That's when you've really arrived. But what has happened, and it's not just golf, it's hockey, it's almost every sport where there's no club sports anymore. There's really, and I could speak specifically to hockey. There really is no minor hockey. It's all, clubs, and you have to join a club. And it's extremely difficult. And I talk about, like, my son played lacrosse, played hockey, and that was tough enough trying to do that, changing in the van and going from and it's because it took up so much time. Now, growing up where I grew up in Manitoba, so, you had 4 months of golf, and I had accessibility. I had a golf course that I could ride my bike to, which was great. Mm-hmm. And now they have, but the thing is that, Manitoba's got a dome. Now you've got sim golf. You've got all kinds of things, because it's, and I've seen it out here. I've played, I'm not going to say the golf course, but I played the golf course where, with a 15-year-old with his dad walking beside him, mm-hmm. talking to him in his earpiece while he's playing. And I could tell the kid was not pleased, and they quit after 9 holes because he had to go home and study. Yeah. It's 15, man. Yeah. Like, I could imagine what my attitude would have been like if my dad was doing that to me when I was 15 years old, chirping at me in an earpiece, telling me what club I should play or what I should do. But that's a balancing act. It really is.
It is.
It is. Because you compete in the world, you're competing, especially with golf. Mm-hmm. You're competing with the world. And when you think about the amount of spots that are available to play at a professional level, there's not a lot where you can actually earn a living.
Yeah.
You got to be pretty good. Like, you got to be real good.
Yeah. And I think that brings up a good point of, like, when I look at, my coaching philosophy, or what my goal is with the teams at SFU. It's easy for me to sit here and say, we want to be the best NCAA team in Division II golf. Mm-hmm. Yes, I run the programs as a high performance team, but at the end of the day, I'm trying to instill strong habits, strong communication skills, self-confidence, and I want my players to have fun while they're in university. There's nothing like college golf, right? And if once they graduate a couple of years from now, they can come back and say to me, like, hey, coach, because of the environment that you created, or the accountability that we all had to hold ourselves to. I'm a more well-rounded person. I'm more successful in the job that I have. Or if they did go and pursue professional golf, they're seeing success doing that. Then I feel that I've done my job, right? If people can say, like, I'm looking back on my collegiate experience, I had a great time, I built strong habits, I'm a better person for it, and golf still plays an important role in my life, then great.
You've done your job.
You hear all these stories of whether it's junior players or collegiate players or professional players, they reach this point where they don't even want to look at golf clubs anymore, right? And it's because of that environment. Like if you're doing it for someone else or you're not having fun while you're doing it, it's going to end poorly.
It always does.
Yeah.
It always does.
Yeah.
So on wrapping things up, where could people follow the SFU golf teams? Are each individual player, I'm sure, is on Instagram, but is SFU?
Yeah, we have team pages. So on Instagram, if you're looking to follow the women's team, it's SFU W Golf, SFU Women's Golf, or SFU M Golf, SFU Men's Golf.
Men's Golf.
Yeah, okay. So we keep those pages up to date. We're in our spring championship season right now, so lots of updates every week on
lots of things coming,
yeah.
and you're recruiting.
I'm recruiting.
You want players to come.
That's right.
You're looking for players. You're always looking for players, and I'm sure there's no shortage of players in the province of British Columbia.
Yeah, you know what? There's a lot of talented players out there, but I really enjoy the recruiting process. Just like we're doing today, like it's really fun for me just to talk and learn about these junior players. And there's, golf scores are important, but I also like hearing from potential student athletes who have a really great story, right? Who are really hard workers and see the value in being a part of Canada's only NCAA team. That's that's what we're looking for.
Well, on that note, Krysta, I would like to thank you. I would like to thank riversidegolf.ca for sponsoring this golf podcast. Without Ken Poirier and his team, it would not be possible. But Krysta Schaus, I would like to thank you for coming out and joining us on Steve Tees Off. I would encourage everyone to please subscribe to us. And the second woman on the podcast, you will be, it's about time. We need to have more women on the podcast. And I thank you for coming out and making time.
Thank you. Second of many. I know you'll have many more.
You betcha. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. This is great.